is 2002. Subaru brings the 2-liter WRX motor to the USDM market, and with arguably one of the best sounding 4-cylinders of all time, came with one small issue. Fast forward 20 years, and some guy named Travis pulls out that beautiful sounding boxer motor and drops in one of the longest lasting production V6 engines of all time. The 4.3, cousin to our more desirable Chevrolet 350, was not known for its high horsepower, but more so known for its reliability and low-end torque. Chevrolet taking 2 cylinders off their 350 meant this V6 kept the 90-degree V platform. So go ahead and choose any GM transmission you want from the last 6 decades. Hold on, let's spice this up. Sweet, what do you guys think? Do you guys like the blue ones or these red ones better? The 4.3 came in many variations. You had balance shafts, different fuel injection, and even the better flowing Vortec heads. These Vortec heads starting in around 1995, making their way all the way up until 2013 with a few small changes. The 4.3 being used in the marine applications for the 4.3 Mercruisers meant that carburetors were still being used, making carb swaps like this easy for these truck engines. So what is this car? Why did I choose a V6 over a V8? What is the purpose of the car, and what are the supporting mods? Well, to start things off, this is a purpose-built drift car. It was a drift car before we even put this motor in. Control arms are extended 1.5 inches. Knuckles are cut and re-drilled so we have more steering angle. The car is sitting on some beautiful BC Racing coilovers. Complete ABS delete, so brake lines just come straight off the master. And on the inside of the car we have a hydro handle. Brake lines go to the rear wheels, and this is so we can lock up the back wheels. Rear suspension is completely stock. Everything's just been replaced and upgraded to polyurethane bushings. Currently we still have the stock 3.4 diff. Originally I had a 411 diff. 411 diffs came from automatic NA cars, so if you want a 411, that's where you would get a 411 diff. Stock diff in the WRX is a 3.4. I put the 3.4 back in because the 411 was a little bit too short for this transmission. And yeah, so just stock diff, stock axles. For the horns, the sound of my people.
We hit that bump going this fast, we're going to be airborne.
CSF upgraded WRX rad. Accessories on the motor, completely stock truck accessories, except I just cut off the top where the AC compressor would go. For motor, completely stock, unopened, junkyard V6, never compression tested, never heard it run, pulled it out of the truck, dropped it right in here, never opened it up, changed it, the intake manifold, valve cover gaskets. That was about it. The intake is off a 4.3 Mercruiser. Then we have an adapter plate to go from a spread bore to a square bore, and then we have an adapter to go from square bore to a 2-barrel, and then we have a good old trusty Moto Crap 2-barrel. One other trick thing we had to do was relocate the clutch master over onto this side. So originally they're on this side, but the engine had to sit too far back and it would have been too close to the head on this side. So we relocated the clutch master over here. Inside the car there's just a huge long rod that goes from basically this side all the way over to this side, and that's what compresses the clutch. HEI distributor to control all of our sparks. Headers are eBay special, purchased about 4 years ago now, and I never actually ran them until we put them on this car. They're facing backwards because there's not enough clearance to actually put the header on the correct way at the firewall, so they have to kind of sit backwards and go up and around. Transmission is an NV3500 5-speed manual transmission, and this is from around a 2007 4.8 liter pickup truck. Simple gauges, we have an RPM and a temperature gauge. A couple switches that I made for my custom chassis harness, and then we have a nice steering wheel. The chassis itself is a 2004 WRX, but I converted everything to a 2002 WRX on the inside. Personally, I just like the way the seats and the door panels look. And then my friend Brandon gave me this NRG bucket seat. Front lip is just an eBay special. Newest addition is this cowl hood. I made it from a Chevy Astrovan hood, and I think it turned out pretty good. We just have to get it color matched. So the big question on the table is, why V6 over a V8? Well, take a look at the car. Look how much room is in the engine bay. In today's war of who can have the most horsepower or who has the most horsepower, a lot of people do forget that some of the most fun cars out there are the low horsepower cars. Well, there's a thing called balance. Weight has a huge factor in that, and when you have a drift car, you want a super balanced car. The more balanced of a car, the better the car is actually going to handle in drift. Let's take a look. Here's our V6 in the engine bay. Here's the center of our wheel right now. You can see there's actually a little bit of weight towards the front of the car like that, and that's alright. You know, there's not too much here we can complain about. If you added a V8 into this car, it's an additional cylinder. It's going to add at least a few extra inches. It's probably going to bring the front of the motor round right here, meaning the accessories have to sit where the rad is. When doing this swap, I considered how much this V6 was actually going to weigh compared to the 4-cylinder. I compared WRX 5-speed to this 5-speed. This 5-speed weighed less, this motor weighed a little bit more. I also factored in how much weight we gutted out of the entire car itself, and I figured this was a pretty simple balance. Alright, so there's another thing we can talk about is power level. So I didn't want to build the fastest, the highest horsepower WRX out there. Someone else can go ahead and spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars if they want to. I was in it to build a reliable, fun drift car. There's a thing called driving at your power level. If you don't know how to drive a 200 horsepower car, you're not going to be able to drive a 500 horsepower car. I'm still new to drifting in itself, so for me, sticking at a lower power level and learning the techniques properly is going to make it better when I actually get into the higher horsepower. I want to be able to know when I need to clutch kick, know when I need to left foot brake, know when I need to switch gears second, third, or whatever I need to do with my hands. Really focus on the actual driving aspect of the car, and then once we get that down, we can actually increase that horsepower level. So at the end of the day, it was all about reliability, low maintenance, and how much it costs. Like honestly, if it takes me longer than 30 or 45 minutes to pull this entire drivetrain out, there's something wrong. With all that being said, I think a nice turbo sitting right about here would do me pretty good. Yes, in the future I'd love to put a turbo on the car, get an extra 200 horsepower out of it, but for right now I really want to learn how to drive at this lower power level, really get the feel for it, get a lot of seat time in this year, and yeah, that's going to be it. So anyway, if you guys do enjoy this video, please leave a like, please leave a comment, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you next time.